From KGW News, this is Straight Talk with Laurel Porter.
Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Laurel Porter. It has been 4 summers since the coronavirus pandemic changed the world and closed all the gatherings and fun-filled events Portland's been known for. Thankfully, that's in the past, and Portland is rebounding with gusto. There is a full slate of events this summer that started with the Rose Festival, the Waterfront Blues Festival, and now the Portland Pride Festival and Parade is just ahead, the Chinese Festival, the Bridge Pedal, and so much more. In this episode of Straight Talk, what you can still look forward to this summer and fall and going into winter in Portland. Why these events and your participation matter to the vibrancy of the city and to small businesses. We'll also find out how this year's Rose Festival event went and what organizers have planned for next year, and how the success of the women's sports bar, the Sports Bra, is bringing national attention to the city. We are joined by Burke Nelson, manager of Prosper Portland's Office of Events and Film. In his position, Burke helps activate private sector events throughout the city and fosters equitable opportunity through creative industries such as film and media. Prior to joining Prosper Portland, Burke served as a policy analyst with the Oregon Health Authority, vice president of government relations at Umpqua Bank, and a senior advisor for the office of Mayor Ted Wheeler. Jenny Nguyen is the owner of the Sports Bra in Northeast Portland, the world's first sports bar exclusively televising women's sports with the mission to empower and promote girls and women in sports and in the community. Nguyen founded the bar in April of 2022 and has recently announced expansion plans. Nguyen is also an accomplished chef and an avid basketball player. Nick Brodnicki is the Chief Operating Officer for the Portland Rose Festival Foundation. Nick and the Rose Festival pride themselves on an equity-first approach when creating opportunities for representation and celebration in our region. Prior to his current role, Nick was Executive Director of the Oregon and Southwest Washington American Heart Association. He is also an accomplished professional triathlete. Welcome to my guests, Burke Nelson, Jenny Nguyen, and Nick Brodnicki. Welcome to Straight Talk. It's so nice to have you all here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Talk about really such a positive subject. Let's go down the table and tell me, how do you think Portland is doing now that we're 4 years removed from the start of the pandemic? And let's start with you, Burke.
Absolutely. I think, in my honest opinion, we're doing great. And I'll tell you why, because we have a lot of event producers and film production that wants to come to the city, and they want to work in the city, and they want to take advantage of everything that the city has to offer. And that's one of the reasons that my office was created, is to ease the pathway for events to take place, more film production to take place, and that really helps with job creation.
And as a small business owner, Jenny, how do you think we're doing?
Oh my God, fantastic. I would say that, between 2022 and now when we opened, we've kind of made a big splash as the Sports Bra, but we've also seen a lot more visitors coming through. And so I think it's just part of Portland getting that traction back with tourism.
And Nick, from the perspective of the Rose Festival, and just as a person living here in Portland, growing up here in Portland, how do you think we're doing?
Portland is open for business, and people are showing up again. The festival had a fantastic year. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But people showed up, and the numbers are back.
So, Burke, as Prosper Portland, you really have led the charge in trying to help Portland rebound. So tell us what's involved with that.
So what we want to do at Prosper Portland, especially with the Office of Events and Film, is set out unique experiences. Experiences that can't be duplicated outside the metro region. We've got to give people a reason to come to the downtown core of Portland and really experience everything that it has to offer. And with that, we're making it as safe as possible, working with the bureaus that manage trash cleanup and stuff like that. And what we're doing is we're making it easy and easier for events to take place, and especially to bring your families to downtown.
Okay, so now's the time to crow, Nick, about the Rose Festival. Rose Festival 2024 is in the books. How did it go? How was participation?
Overwhelming success as far as participation goes. There's certainly hurdles that are perceived, as Burke alluded to coming downtown, and we were able to prove that most of those hurdles, they're out of our way now. We don't even have to get over them. They are removed. Starlight Parade night for our Care Oregon Starlight Parade, where we maybe had a Grand Marshal that's sitting next to me here. We had foot traffic hits from Placer data of 255,000 people on the parade route.
Wow.
Yes, very successful. City Fair itself saw folks coming from zip codes and jurisdictions all around the state to come downtown with their families.
What do you think that the Rose Festival means? What does it represent in the region?
The Rose Festival, 117 years ago, was created to put Portland on the map. And as it stands now, as you said in your intro, we pride ourselves on this equity-first approach, but it's about celebrating this place that we so deeply love and care about. And we know with our theme this year that was Dream Forward, we know our dream city is right here. And we just need to put in maybe a little bit extra work, but mostly that's happening.
Now, Jenny, were you the Grand Marshal? How was
I
that? What was
was.
that like?
It was fantastic. In fact, Nick called me to tell me, and I was, for once, speechless. I grew up here in Portland, and I remember as a small child attending the Rose Festival and the Starlight Parade, and knowing that that is such an ingrained tradition, and to suddenly be offered to be a central figure in what a great celebration that is, was unbelievable for me.
Well, what an honor and a perfect choice. Now, there were some protests, Nick. There were 8 people that were arrested, people who tried to block the Grand Floral Parade. What kind of impact did that have? Tell us about what happened.
You know, we respect everyone's First Amendment right to voice their opinion and be heard and seen. And in this case, we had a fantastic response from the Portland Police and Multnomah County and all of their partners, so that protesters were able to peacefully protest. And in the event that they did try to disrupt the parade, unfortunately, some action was taken on behalf of our partners, but it created no disruption to the parade. Everyone stayed safe. Everyone felt the environment still gave the opportunity for folks to voice themselves, but we could go on with our civic celebration of 117 years of history and heritage celebrating Portland.
So it didn't stop all the fun
and
festivities.
Did not stop the parade or the festivities. It did not.
Well, Jenny, I want to find out more about the sports bra and how you got started and everything. You, as you mentioned, grew up in Portland. You are a basketball player. You experienced Portland as a sports town. So what impact do events like, let's say, the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship, the tournament in March, how did that impact small businesses, in particular your business, the Sports Bra?
Absolutely, it was incredible. And like you said, I grew up here and I witnessed Portland being a fan of women's sports, just everywhere, from Shannon McMillan to the Rapinoe sisters to Sabrina Ionescu, and now we're cheering on, Jazzy Davidson and Jordan Childs from the Pacific Northwest. And when we had the regional tournament here in Portland, it was so large that partners of ours wanted to do parties at the Bra, and we wrapped in other bars to participate as well, because we just knew having it be in Portland, our space was really too small. So we ended up kind of spreading the love.
So it wasn't just good for you, it was good for a lot of businesses.
Exactly.
So you've been written up, all over the place. People Magazine, the New York Times, you've been on NBC and countless other publications. Portland is really getting a reputation as a destination place for women's sports, isn't it? Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. Like I said, I think that, we've had a history of celebrating women's sports here in Portland, and that's why I opened the Sports Bra here. 1, it's my hometown, and 2, I felt like it could really work here. And what's amazing is being a part of, with Sport Oregon and with the help of the city, we were able to win the bid for the NCAA Women's Final Four here in Portland for 2030. And that just goes to show that even a small place like the Sports Bra can make a dramatic impact.
I need to interject here for a second because Jenny is selling herself short. So when the NCAA came and looked at Portland as a destination for the Women's Final Four in 2030, we put together a route of where we should take these NCAA officials and what they should see if they're coming to Portland. And we saved the Sports Bra for last. And I have to say that was the catalyst of the choice as to why they chose 2030. I was told that personally by the NCAA.
How does that make you feel?
Unbelievable. That's awesome. And it just, again, it goes to show that just one place can make such a huge impact. And for me to bring that to my hometown feels very special.
The Final Four in 2030, what's that going to mean to the city? And
we're going to need a bigger boat.
Absolutely. We know the draw, and we can see the draw that Caitlin Clark is having on the NCAA and now the WNBA. And so that's only going to grow by the time the Final Four gets here in 2030, and we're prepared for it.
You mentioned the WNBA. Let me ask Jenny, when do you think that we'll get a WNBA team in Portland?
Oh my gosh, my hope, I mean, you know, we were so close to getting it this year, I believe. My hope is that we have a team in 2026.
And what will that mean for you guys? I mean, are you big enough?
Again, we're going to need a bigger boat, just period.
And we'll talk more about your plans
sure.
for expansion a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I did want to touch on, you know, because it's been really rough through the pandemic and afterwards for restaurant owners and business owners. How tough has it been? How tough is it now?
It is difficult. I gotta say, bars and restaurants always have a difficult time. The margins are very tight no matter what. But with the new economy and how we're getting back into things, there's definitely a dramatic shift. And having been wrapped up in other small business conversations, I see and feel those struggles. Fortunately for us at the Sports Bra, we are doing really well. It's still tough, but we witness, you know, our neighbors and our friends and other small businesses struggling. So it's really about trying to spread that love and sharing as much around as we can, whether it's recommendations or, you know, inviting other people to other people's businesses. And there's nothing like small business and community to do those things.
You know, Laurel, that's truly why events in this town are such a big deal, because of the connection they create with our business community, with our small business community. The festival this year hosted its inaugural Starry Nights small business event focused on the downtown core. The Sports Bra was also a part of that on Central East. And the whole idea, even thinking about our friends at the Waterfront Blues Festival this past weekend, they had music pop-ups all around small businesses in the downtown core. We have a platform and we want to share it with everybody who cares about the city and creates business in the city.
And you mentioned to me when talking about the Rose Festival, it doesn't put on itself.
No.
You really need people to be involved. Tell me a little bit about that.
Right. The Rose Festival is a team of 8 people paid year round, but then we have our entire board, our fabulous board of directors, hundreds of volunteers per event. That adds up to thousands of folks that make these things happen. And whether it's on the dollars side or it's on the person power side, you know, it takes all of us showing up to make these things happen, because we are some of the biggest economic drivers in the region, and that's not easy.
Well, go ahead, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was going to, also add on to what Nick is saying, and that the elected officials actually recognize the importance of events. And you know, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioner Rubio and our director Kimberly Branham at Prosper Portland fought for funding for our office to aid and assist in how many events that we can put on. And so, as Nick and Jenny are alluding to, that events have a huge economic impact on the city. They have a huge economic impact on small businesses. And so what our office is trying to do is produce more events, because that brings more people to downtown. And the old adage, dinner and a show, you know, people will go for dinner and then they'll go for the show. And sometimes that's, you know, things like the Portland Pride Parade coming up, and other events that are going on throughout the city.
Well, that's a perfect segue to Jenny, because you are hosting the Portland Pride Block Party for the 3rd year. Tell us a little bit about that.
We're hosting a block party at the Sports Bra on Sunday, July 21st. And it's our 3rd year doing it, but it's our 1st year ever closing off a whole street. So we're closing off a whole street, making this party much bigger than we've ever done it before. And it's gonna be sporty, it's gonna be queer, it's going to be awesome.
And that's Sunday, July 21st, something to look forward to. I wanted to mention something on a personal level about community events. And I'm friends with a gentleman named Steve Slavic in Northeast Portland, and he started the Shamrock, the St. Patrick's Day Parade that he started 35 years ago, just to impress his father-in-law for his newlywed wife who was visiting. He was of Irish descent, and so he was coming to town. That was 35 years ago, just with a couple of cars, people marching down the street. Now it's this huge community event that people really look forward to every year. So Burke, I guess my question is that people can do this, right? I mean, you look to the community to come up with events, to lean into these kinds of things.
Absolutely, and my job is I work for the community. So what I want to do is foster the community to get involved with more events, to really just smooth the pathway, help with the permitting process, help with the costs associated with it, help with any security needs that are provided. And so I connect them with the proper bureaus that can do those things and just make it it a really easy process to get more events going on in the city.
We're talking about that your office also handles films, trying to get films to come here. So what's happening right now? Is anybody filming in Portland right now?
Yes, we have a show called Criminal that is being produced by Amazon Studios that has been going on for the better part of 2 months now. And the economic impact that show is having is astronomical, and we're hoping to bring them back for a second year.
And you've got interest from other companies looking to come to Portland?
Absolutely.
Production companies?
Not just production companies. We've got sporting events that are looking to come here as well. And so right now we're logistically capable of handling them. And right now we're also looking to attract more film and studio production because it helps with the positive perception that is Portland.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's time for us to take a break, but we have so much more we want to talk about and tell you about some of the events coming up in the summer and the fall. Also, what the Rose Festival has planned for next year, and also an expansion for the sports bra. So stick around. Here's a link as we go to break to Travel Portland if you'd like to check out more events. We're back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Straight Talk. I'm Laurel Porter. We're talking about Portland and its rebound and the events coming up in the days ahead and what they mean for the city. Welcome once again to my guests, Burke Nelson, manager of Prosper Portland's Office of Events and Film, Jenny Nguyen, owner of the Sports Bra in Northeast Portland, and Nick Brodnicki, Chief Operating Officer with the Portland Rose Festival Foundation. Once again, it's really great to have you all here.
Thank you.
Let's talk to Burke a little bit about the outlook for Portland. From Prosper Portland's perspective, what do you think the prognosis is for Portland over the next year or two?
Only improving. We're only improving. And you know how I said that, we've got people who are interested in putting on events in the city and coming to the city. I can actually back that up with 2 specific events that we have going on here this summer. So Project PAPS is going to be an outdoor concert that will take place at the waterfront at the end of this month in July. And the list of performers they have is amazing. Just to top it off, we've got Billy Idol, T-Pain, and the Violent Femmes are going to be performing. And then in August, we've got the Rockstar Open, which is the first ever skateboarding competition that is open to all comers. And they're going to build a park on the waterfront, a street park, and then also I think a half pipe, and that will be in addition to the free concert that they will be putting on at the end of August. So those are 2 major events that people outside of the Portland metro region sought to come to Portland to put on.
Well, that's a good example. And a recent poll, though, that was commissioned by the Portland Metro Chamber and done by DHM showed that a lot of people still are afraid to come downtown, in particular people who live outside of Portland, day or night, and then people who live in Portland still express some concern about coming downtown at night. So do you think that's changing?
I do think that's changing, and we have the data to back it up. So last year we did the Portland Outdoor Winter Ice Rink, and we polled some of the people who came and participated in the skate, and 53% of those polled said they had an improved perception of downtown Portland once they came and saw it for their own eyes.
So the events can really have an impact. And Nick, you have some data that you could share that you gathered from City Fair. Tell us about that.
Yeah, over 100,000 people over 3 weekends came down to City Fair from a number of jurisdictions and zip codes that are not within the central Portland area. And City Fair on the weekends goes till 10 o'clock at night. And we actually on our last weekend had to push back closing times because people were still enjoying themselves downtown. Families, the average group that comes is the size of 4, whether that's 1 or 2 adults and a couple of kids. So we know from our attendance that folks showed up and they stayed late.
And DHM told me when they were on Straight Talk earlier that there's a lag time between people's perceptions and what shows up in the polls. So perhaps the next year's poll will show something different, but anecdotally, you're seeing things change already.
Absolutely. We brought 500,000 people together over the festival, over our 3 weekends this year. And one of those events was in the Hollywood district, but the majority are in the central core or central east side, and we filled streets and people were happy, they were healthy, and no issues along the way.
Well, tell us what you have planned for the Rose Festival next year.
So there's a couple of things in the works that it just, they're coming. But for the things that we can talk about, there's two types of expansion that the Rose Festival is working on, and it's the expansion around the Central Core, activating a lot of our partners, whether those be small businesses or other venues, art galleries, supporting the arts and education, core values for us. So the festival leveraging the audiences of so many of our friends along the waterfront and then the Central Core, and then the expansion of actually who is visiting us with our marketing focused in those markets that folks can take an easy day trip here from Seattle and Boise and Sacramento and all those places. So we're going to create that space to build on. This year, 80 artists were featured, 120 community, cultural, and affinity groups. We're going to expand on that with our partners around the Central Core.
And speaking of expansion, Jenny, you've got some plans to expand nationally. Tell us about that.
We do. We announced a couple months ago that we are going to franchise nationally. It's quite a big project, but we're really excited. And for us, the key is hanging on to our mission and values at the Sports Bra. It's not about as fast as possible. It's about community-based and impact. And so finding those right people out there who understand what our mission value alignment is, and those folks who are willing to take the time and effort it takes to build community in those spaces. So whether it's a big metropolitan city that we expand to, or a very small town with a huge heart for women's sports, those are the places that we're looking at going to first.
So that really underlines the increasing interest in women's sports across the country. What about here locally? Are you going to expand locally? Because you only hold about 50 people, right?
That's correct. We have about 40 seats, 50 standing room only. The idea is that we have a spot on the east side. We would love at some point to have a spot on the west side, but that is TBD.
Okay, well, stay tuned. And just want to put up a graphic that shows some of the events coming up. You've mentioned a few of them, Burke, but are there a couple others that you want to mention?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned before, we're bringing back the Portland Winter Ice Rink. We're going to start it a little bit earlier, November 16th, because that way we can get some traffic for those who are coming home for the holidays for Thanksgiving. And then in addition to that, we are looking forward to the 10th anniversary of the Winter Lights Festival, of which we are a grant donor for that outstanding event. And for those of you who were able to witness it last year, it's only going to be bigger and better this year coming up.
So lots to look forward to. I just want to ask you, Nick, something on a personal level that I think really applies here. We have just about a minute and a half left, but you experienced something personal that shows your personal resiliency, and it also kind of applies to the city's resiliency and effort to rebound. Tell us what happened to you.
I appreciate you asking. 6 years ago, I collapsed on a sidewalk as I was out for a run. Both of my lungs collapsed. I had to be hospitalized for over a week. And that process of recovery wasn't one that I could go through alone. I needed a lot of people to come around me to support me. And I think about that for Portland's recovery right now, coming out of the pandemic, thinking about these wonderful people that sit alongside me and all of the teams that support them and support our city. It takes all of us coming together over and over again to support this thing that we love, Portland and the Pacific Northwest.
Well, we are so grateful that you recovered so well and that you're doing such a great job in your position with the Rose Festival. Thank you. We have just a little bit of time for a final thought from each of you. Burke, what would you like to say to leave our viewers with?
Portland is open for businesses, as Nick alluded to. We've got the restaurants, we've got the hotels, we've got the infrastructure. Come on down.
All right, Jenny, what would you like to say?
Oh my gosh, I'm most looking forward to the Olympics coming up.
Yes.
This will be our first time being around for the Olympics, so figuring out TV schedules, how we're gonna do capacity, and we're just thrilled. And I mean, I'm most excited to watch track and field, which, I know with the basketball and all of the stuff and my passion being basketball, but track and field is really something, especially with the championships that just happened down in Eugene.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the hype is real.
Well, and we should say, shameless plug, we have the Olympics right here on KGW on NBC on Channel 8. Just 15 seconds for a final thought from Nick.
Portland is what we make it, and Portland is the place. It is absolutely the place. Our dream city is right here. Come on down.
Well, thank you all, Burke, Jenny, Nick, for joining us here on Straight Talk. And here's a link to that Travel Portland website again if you want to check out future events. Thank you to my guests. And thank you for watching. We want to remind you that you should join us next week because we're going to look ahead to the Olympic Games in Paris with Olympics expert Jules Boykoff. We'll see you next week for Straight Talk.